In Baltimore County, we're learning more about the brutal stabbing inside Lansdowne High School. A girl was hospitalized with severe injuries, and another girl was charged with attempted murder. The mother of the girl who recorded the video of the stabbing tells Fox 45 News now her daughter is being punished.
One of the biggest signs of a failing institution, a corrupt institution where the rot has taken hold, is when exposing an aspect of that corruption, exposing a problem, becomes the biggest crime that you can commit. And today's story is a perfect example of that. Today we're going to talk about the violence in Baltimore schools. However, I'm not just going to show you a video of an everyday instance of ridiculous and absurd violence that goes on the campuses in the Baltimore public school system. Today I'm going to show you what happened to a girl who actually inadvertently ended up catching a crime, an attempted murder in the school on video, and the consequences that she was dealt from the school. And these consequences were serious and then were escalated to an even more serious point, despite the fact that there's no evidence at all whatsoever she did anything except expose the crime. And the regime's justifications for these punishments are absolutely absurd. You would not want your kid to suffer these kind of consequences for what they're saying, and that's why we have to talk about it. It's not just about the violence, it's about the fact that Baltimore doesn't want you to know how violent their public school system actually is. But before we get into that, before we get into this golden nugget of a story, this video is sponsored. It's Noble Gold, long-term sponsor of this channel, so let me toss it over to them, come back over here, and we'll discuss this whole thing on the other side. Noble Gold Investments is proud to tell you that gold was among the best investment classes in 2022. If you had your money in real estate, crypto, stocks, guess what? Gold outperformed them all. And according to longtermtrends.net, it outperformed the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. In fact, if you would have invested your money at the start of 2022 in the S&P 500, you'd be down about 20%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, 10%. You would have put it in crypto, you would have lost a staggering 65%. So what are you waiting for? Start hedging your investments against inflation and start a precious metals IRA with noblegoldinvestments.com today. And if you start a qualifying IRA, guess what? You will be gifted a 1/4 ounce American Eagle gold coin. It's an absolutely beautiful coin. I love it. And it's a reminder that gold is a hedge against absolute disaster. Call them at 877-646-5347 to learn more, or visit them at noblegoldinvestments.com.
I feel like it's a vendetta against her because of this video.
Now, normally I'm incredibly suspicious of parental claims, but I do want to point out that it is not alleged anywhere in the criminal complaint, which by the way is an attempted murder complaint, that the girl who caught the video was in any way, shape, or form involved with this instance. In fact, from all accounts, when this girl realized what was going on, she ended up fleeing the bathroom in a panic, alerting people, and that likely led to the victim's life being saved, potentially. This girl in the stall, who is 15 years old, the victim in this instance, was stabbed in the Baltimore public schools, and again, their key issue, the key person that they are targeting, is the girl who filmed the video, because the biggest crime you can commit in the Baltimore public schools is exposing all the criminality that is allowed to run rampant in the Baltimore public schools.
Okay, Baltimore County Police have already arrested and charged a 17-year-old girl in connection with this violent attack, and tonight, consequences for the student who caught it on camera.
It's a video that went viral. The vicious attack at Lansdowne High School 2 weeks ago.
So I just want to point out, because I do love making fun of local news, that local news is ridiculous. It's always ridiculous. And this is a perfect example of that. Why did the graphic need to show the still image of the video on the phone? First of all, it takes up less space on the screen, so it makes it more difficult for members of the audience to hear it. They then cut to a zoomed in version so you can see the knife. This does not serve anybody. It doesn't assist anyone. But of course, that is what they decided to do, because they're like, hey, you know, we got somebody who's like in their junior year of college at some community college who designs graphics, and this is the best that they could come up with. Unfortunately, that is the only laughable moment from this segment, because this story is deadly serious, and what you're going to find out is not only is the person filming getting severe consequences, but it looks like they might mitigate the attempted murder charges, which of course we will touch on.
Stunning images of a female student stabbing another female student inside a bathroom stall. The 15-year-old victim stabbed at least 10 times. Tonight, the mother of the student who caught that video on camera.
She called me hysterical. She was traumatized.
Ms. Cooper wants her face hidden to protect her family's identity.
So this girl caught the key piece of evidence. She has the whole crime on video. This would be the thing that would lead to the conviction, and yet the consequences are here, and now we're hearing from the mother. And by the way, notice the fact that Baltimore is so dangerous that even in a clear-cut story like this, the mother has to be fully blurred out for fear of retaliation.
But she's speaking out. Cooper says her daughter is also a victim, targeted by officials at Baltimore County Public Schools. Her daughter first suspended for 10 days, now expelled from school.
I feel like it's punishment, like they're punishing her for this video, for her shining a light on the incident and what happened in that bathroom.
Look, this woman's covered with tattoos. Obviously, she lives in a neighborhood that is bad enough that she's afraid to even show her face on camera to talk about the injustice that's happening to her daughter. But credit where credit is due. She is dead on accurate. She has diagnosed this absolutely perfectly. This girl is being punished for filming the incident. And I know, and by the way, we're going to cover a story about people who are filming, and there's a whole setup, these kind of violent instances. But when you hear about the circumstances of this case, how this video ended up being shot, and then you find out that not even the police department is interested in charging her daughter with any crime because she didn't commit any crime. She actually supplied the most crucial evidence. You realize that this is completely frivolous, and the policy that they're implementing here is clearly not being done in good faith, and the real objective is to shield Baltimore public schools from the attention of being seen as how violent they actually are.
Cooper says her daughter was in the bathroom when she heard the fight break out. She says her daughter then lifted her cell phone camera over the stall and started recording without knowing exactly what was happening.
No, she didn't know the girl was being stabbed until the door opened up and she seen the young lady stabbing her in her back, and she ran out the bathroom screaming and hollering.
Now again, it would be one thing if this was the claim and it was disputed by law enforcement and there were charges associated with law enforcement disputing this claim. But that is not the case. And if you think about it logically, these kids pull out their phone for anything. You start to hear some kind of commotion in the stall next to you. You raise your phone over the stall. You still can't see what you're actually filming. And then the girl comes out and there's blood everywhere. There's a knife in the girl's hand. That's when she figures out what's going on. And she immediately takes off, calls her mother, horrified at what she saw. And then the school decides that this girl who filmed it, she needs punishment. She needs to be victimized. This girl who turned over the evidence to the police so that they can prosecute this attempted murder is actually the bad person, because look how bad you think Baltimore schools are now that there's a video of a 15-year-old girl being stabbed repeatedly in a bathroom stall and no school official interceding on her behalf. I mean, that happened. Baltimore schools are actually that dangerous. This school in particular completely and utterly failed. But the problem isn't that. The problem is that you and the public can see it because this girl happened to catch that video.
Said school officials at Lansdowne contacted her today, told her about the exposure. We reached out to school headquarters about that decision. A spokesperson replied with an email, said they don't comment on specific student disciplinary action.
So of course they reach out to the school, and the school says, listen, we don't talk about specific disciplinary action. That's none of your business. Don't worry about it. Shut up. We're just trying to cover up what's going on. Leave us alone. We're not going to give you any comment. But then they add this additional statement, and I want you to really think about what the school is suggesting the reason why they punished this girl was after you hear it, because it's actually astounding that they would put this to paper and then send this to the local news thinking, oh, well, local news, they're not going to gain any traction, but we're going to change that on this channel and make sure this story gets blasted out to as many people as possible.
But did say in part, regarding the incident, violent and dangerous behaviors will not be tolerated in our schools. We also want our families and students to understand that our schools will also issue serious consequences to students who participate as bystanders and record and or take photos while a serious incident is occurring.
They said that she didn't help Like, I don't understand, like, what was she supposed to do? She's a child. I guess they wanted her to step in and she was supposed to do something, but she's a child herself. She's not going to get in the way of somebody with a weapon, period. That's not her job.
So in certain circumstances, this kind of a policy makes sense. Again, we're going to touch on a story a little bit later in the week about an incident that went down in New Jersey where girls were viciously attacking another girl while filming it, uploading the videos on the internet in order to torment that girl. But that is a completely different context for what we're dealing with here. And the idea that they would essentially tell the mom that she didn't interfere, she didn't help, she just acted as a bystander, therefore she's culpable, therefore we're going to suspend her for 10 days and then escalate that up to an expulsion is patently absurd and ridiculous. She should not be obligated as a student who stumbles on this incident to intercede in a stabbing with an obviously violent girl that should be nowhere near the public schools, that shouldn't be in there, and be on the hook for not helping this girl enough. Again, she did what she needed to do enough to secure the conviction. We have a video of this attempted murder because of her, and it does not seem at all like this girl. And by the way, the police are not alleging in any way, shape, or form that she was involved in the crime, was participating in any kind of negative way. It seems like her story at this point in time is 100% legit, as backed up by the Baltimore police, as backed up by the prosecutors, but the school really doesn't like the fact that you can lead off a news segment with this image of what goes on in their schools, so they decided to say, look, she stood by idle, maybe she should have intervened, maybe if she got a couple of stabs, we would have only suspended her for 5 days.
Well, regarding the suspect in this case, for now she's charged as an adult, but an upcoming hearing will ultimately decide if she remains charged as an adult or if she's pushed back to juvenile court.
So you want to know what one of the saddest things about this case actually is? This girl, for sure, 85% chance, will be de-escalated to the juvenile court. Remember, we talked about the district attorney, or the state's attorney is what they call him in Maryland, for this area, Marilyn Mosby, the one who let out Adnan Syed as one of these woke left-wing district attorneys. Well, she was replaced with an even more left-wing district attorney who definitely wanted to not prosecute anyone. In fact, one of the reasons why Marilyn Mosby let out Adnan, other than the fact that she was facing corruption charges and she wanted some positive press going into that federal case, is because the next guy behind her had already pledged years earlier to release Adnan because he was totally in the pocket of the Innocence Fraud campaign, Soros-backed, left-wing, Sean King supported, and all that. So what we're actually going to see is that this girl who stabbed another girl 10 times, attempted murder, malice, intent, all of that, brought a weapon into the school, a clear and obvious danger, is going to have her charges de-escalated to juvenile court. She's going to get a slap on the wrist because she's just a baby. She's 17 years old. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's no difference at all, according to the left wing, between a 1-year-old and a 17-year-old. So how could she possibly know what she was doing? And this girl's gonna probably remain expelled unless we bring up the attention, unless we turn up the temperature on the Baltimore public school systems and tell them, no, you should not tolerate violence, and people exposing violence are not the criminals. They're not the problem. But again, this is what happens when you give over everything to a corrupt institution. We did a story just recently about how 93% of Baltimore students are failing math. 93%. They're the 4th most funded per pupil school district in the country. The 4th most money for 7% success rate in math all throughout K through 12. And this is the kind of reason why, because they allow violence to go completely unchecked. It's hard to be good at math when you have to worry about being stabbed in your school system. They have all these crappy equity and discipline programs that gives kids like this stabber, who obviously 100% guaranteed had a lengthy disciplinary record that they did not decide to go after her for, break after break after break. And then when you expose the corruption, when you confront them with the reality of what they produce in the city of of Baltimore, then you get the hammer dropped on you. Then you're the problem. Then the school district releases a statement that says that your kid, instead of getting the key evidence that would lead to a prosecution, should have interfered and maybe got stabbed a couple of times for her trouble. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. And again, it just goes to show you, and by the way, everybody should have known this from watching The Wire, that corruption in Baltimore is ongoing, it's everlasting, it's enduring, and this is what the people, the good people, actually have to deal with. So yeah, if you're in the Baltimore public school system, get your kids out of the public school system. They can't do math, so they're not effective at even educating your kids, and the school district has made it 100% clear that they don't give a damn about your kids. The only thing they care about is whether or not your kids are actually exposing the corruption that goes on in their system. They're actually exposing the consequences of the policies that they inflict on them. So get them out. Pull them out immediately, save up some money, go to private schools, start voting for politicians in favor of charter schools. It's ridiculous that this is allowed to go on. But hey, those are just my thoughts. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you like the video, show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on all my social media, support me via the support links in the description box of this video. This has been me talking about the insanity of Baltimore. It's The Wire all over again. Till next time.